Hi everyone! Happy Hispanic Heritage Month. We're so excited to be having this special webinar for you all today. My name is Belém Oseguera Duran, and I am the Communications Specialist with Poder Latinx. And with me today, I have our Regional Manager, Giselle Gasca, and our Georgia State Director, Leslie Palomino. Thank you, Giselle and Leslie, for joining me.
Thank you, Belen, for having us. I am excited about today's webinar.
Yeah. How have you celebrated Hispanic Heritage Month? I know for me, I love going to my city. They have like special festivals. I'm Mexican, so I love going to the Mexican independence celebrations. Just a little fun thing to do around this time. Leslie, if you want to share a little about your background, that'd be nice.
Yeah, hi everyone. Welcome to this webinar that we're having, and happy Hispanic Heritage Month. This past weekend, I celebrated by showing up for new rising Latino artists in the Atlanta area. So I was able to attend something called Oye Fest, and I had such a great time celebrating culture and just the traditions that we have.
Yeah, no, I love that. And, you know, we are here to bring you this special panel because while Poder Latinx loves celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, we understand that this isn't just a month celebration of our food, music, and traditions, which we love, right? And we love participating in. We want to make sure that we are also aware that it's about recognizing the deep contributions that Latinos have made to the United States and the power that our communities hold to shape its future. From Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta fighting for labor rights, to Sonia Sotomayor on the Supreme Court, to just everyday Latinos leading in their neighborhoods, our story is of resilience, leadership, and progress. And so the topic of this panel for today is not just going to be about our heritage and culture, but how then that translates, right, to the powerhouse that the Latino voting bloc is in our democracy, and how, you know, Latinos, we contribute to the economy, we contribute to our communities and all the different workforce and labor and the many different narratives and values that we bring in terms of that diversity, right? And how we can stand united in order to build and work for a democracy that represents all of us. And to get started, Giselle and Leslie, I'm going to go ahead and ask the first question for today's panel. As we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month, what does this moment mean for Latino communities when it comes to civic engagement and voting power? Giselle?
Thank you for the question, Belen. I think it's so important because as Latinos, as Hispanics, and here in the U.S., it's estimated that 68 million Latinos are here in this country, and we represent about 20% of the population. So we have a very unique, not to only celebrate our culture, our traditions, but also flex our political power in this election and in every election, right? I think it's very important that we register to vote, that we participate at every level, whether it's a local election, a state election, or a federal election, to make sure that we get the diverse representation that we deserve, but also that, you know, we are not being tossed around and we are being taken serious, and that the issues that impact our community are at the forefront. Like you mentioned, our Latino community is mostly and often impacted by climate injustices, inflation, the cost of living, and it's very important that as Latinos, and no longer a minority, that we get involved, that we take action, and that we take that step today to make sure that we're all registered to vote for the upcoming elections, and that we participate in our democracy.
Right, and Leslie, can you expand a little more on this as well? Maybe even more based on the work that you do in Georgia, but you know, what unique contributions do Latinos bring to this democratic process? and how can we continue to grow our influence politically?
Absolutely. And to officially introduce myself, hello, everyone. Leslie Palomino. I serve as a Georgia State Director for Poder Latinx. And all that to say is, when I think about traditions that have been passed down to us, as someone who is a first generation member in my family and one of the first eligible voters in my family, as soon as I turned like 17 and a half in the state of Georgia, you're actually allowed to register to vote. So it was actually like a full circle moment for me, because I was on a college campus one day sitting down at the bench studying, and there was a canvasser from another nonprofit who approached me to ask me to register to vote. And right then and there, they passed me a clipboard and paper, and I decided, I was like, let me do this. I was sitting with my sister, who at the time was undocumented, and, you know, I remember her saying, like, I can't register, or I can't do this right now. And she looked at me, and I recalled that moment, like that exact moment, that I was like, okay, this is my responsibility. I'm going to do my civic duty, and I'm going to register to vote. So right then and there, I registered. It was a quick process. I knew that this person was going to take that application form to the elections office. And the reason that I say it's also like a full circle moment for me is, like, now I am in a position where I'm leading voter registration drives, where each year since I've been at Poder Latinx, we've registered close and over 1,000 people. This year alone, we registered over 2,000 new voters and eligible voters to be part of the voting process in the state of Georgia. And within the state of Georgia, there has been so many historic purges, voter purges, that the Secretary of State has been removing lots of voters each year. This year was over 500,000 voters that were removed from the voting polling rolls. And so now, all that to say is, you know, the reason that this voter suppression is happening is because they know that our votes are so powerful. So when we show up to vote, we're shaping policies that are going to reflect our values and experiences. And I'll leave it at that, but thank you.
No, beautiful. You know, you put it beautifully, and really your narrative is so touching. And, you know, it really goes to show, because recently the Latino vote is the deciding factor. You know, there's a margin in the victory when it comes down to counting votes, specifically for also local elections. At Poder Latinx, we believe in the power of civic engagement and participation, and we're always out there on the ground. I know, you know, I've seen the teams on the ground going, knocking on doors, making sure that people are informed. But some people tend to be surprised as well that it's not just the federal elections. Like, our teams are working year round for all those elections, all those decisions that are happening, you know, in your local leadership, which is going to lead me to our next discussion, bringing it back to Leslie. If you can tell us a bit more about what are the upcoming decisions being made in your state, what is on the line, and, you know, what is critical at the moment for Latinos in Georgia to know for any upcoming elections?
In the state of Georgia, we currently have, mayors, city council members, and also the Georgia Public Service Commission District 2 and 3 that is up for election right now. We currently just had the October 6th voter registration deadline. So if you weren't able to meet that deadline, then you're still able to register to vote, but that will be for the next and upcoming elections. So it's also important that you check that your voter registration is up to date and that your status is active. And you can do that by visiting mvp.sos.ga.gov. And so those are some of the elections that we have coming up this year. You can check your county elections office. If you go onto the website that I listed, you can also see your precinct card, and that shows you in which areas you live in, because not everyone lives within the city limits, but everyone is voting for the Public Service Commission elections.
Awesome. And what are key details, maybe for those watching in Georgia? Can you tell us about this Public Service Commission? What is the election about? I think you mentioned who's eligible to vote in this election, but what are some key details that our audience should be aware of?
Yeah, so with the Georgia Public Service Commission, it is a group of 5 elected officials who oversee and approve the rates that utility companies charge customers. So this year, Georgians are voting for District 2 and District 3. And these individuals determine important things like how much you and your family are paying for the power that you have. They also decide on renewable energy sources and where energy infrastructure projects are being built. So if you care about your wallet and the money that you want to save, or how much you're even paying, I would definitely identify who are your utility electricity rates, like how much you're paying on a monthly basis. This is just very important because for the state of Georgia, they are making those key decisions on how Georgia produces and delivers energy. And so they get to decide and invest in solar and wind power and more.
Wow. Yeah. Sounds like a major election. And I will say, from what we know and experience on the ground, is that the participation rate of eligible voters in small local elections, especially for utility boards, tends to be very, very low. And yet, as Leslie is explaining to us, it has a major impact on your day-to-day. And, as Latinos, whether you are a Latino or Black and Brown community member in these areas where you are being impacted by pollution, where you are being impacted by the high rates of your utility cost as opposed to all other living costs, right? Like, it is a major impact. And if you can have a say, that's also really important. Leslie, I don't know if you can have more details, but I know that recently members of your team went and spoke with local leaders, political leaders, to share their stories.
Yeah, so the Public Service Commission, they do meet on a certain amount of times where that information is actually found on their website. So you can directly go in front of the board and address any concerns, questions that you may have. So you're allowed to give a public comment, is what it's called.
Awesome. Thank you so much for giving us some information on this. For everyone out there, there is an election happening in Georgia for the Public Service Commission Board. So make sure to follow up with us, to go check your websites, to make sure you have more details. Actually, Leslie, if you can let us know, what are some key important details for this election in terms of dates that people should be aware of?
Yeah, so voting early is starting. So this is a time where, you make your plan to go out to vote. Early voting begins on October 14th to October 31st. So check your county elections office on where you have early voting locations available in your county. If you're within the city limits and voting for your mayor and city, definitely check out, your city elections website that will have more information. And election day is on November 4th. So if that is your plan to go out to vote then, make sure you check your voter page, which is mvp.sos.ga.gov. On there, you can check where your assigned polling location is listed. And of course, you can also visit poderlatinx.org/vote. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that information. For those of you watching, don't be that voter that waits until the last minute. I for sure know some people that wait until the last day to get a phone call, from their mom being like, did you go to vote? And they have to rush last minute. You don't have to do that, right? Voting early starts October 14th. So make sure you have your plan to vote. Make sure you are organized. when it comes to civic engagement, everything is about education, power, planning. Make sure you do your research so that you feel like you're making an informed choice. And yeah, make sure if you're in Georgia, make sure you check out the Public Service Commission election. And now to shift gears, we are going to go to the other side of the country. Our regional manager, Giselle Gasca, is going to give us some more information about another important election happening to community members in the state of California. So Giselle, if you can, give us a little more details on any upcoming decisions. I know part of that is Proposition 50, and you'll give us more details, but let us know, what is on the line at the moment for Latinos in California.
Thank you, Belen. And when you say what is at the line, everything is at the line. Proposition. So to begin, California was not even planning to have an election this year. But they will be having a special election on November 4th, where there is a proposition, as you mentioned, Prop 50, that will be on the ballot. This is a proposal to give voters the opportunity to decide and potentially save their democracy, right? This is about who gets to redraw the lines, the congressional district lines in California. And this is really going to have a direct impact on who's representing us in Congress. So right now, Latinos make around 2% of elected officials nationwide. So this is an opportunity for Latinos to directly impact who will be representing Californians in Congress, and make sure that the people that are elected to represent Latinos of our state that reflect the values of our community. I want to just give you a little bit of context for all of you watching. And if you live in California, this is very important information. Right now, the lines are drawn by an independent commission. This is meant to make this more fair and avoid any political parties to have an impact or weigh into these lines, redrawing these lines. However, California called for this special election to make sure that the voters have an opportunity to decide and potentially save our democracy by allowing them to vote on whether or not they want to adopt certain maps that will have an impact on elections in 2026 all the way up until 2030. So this is a temporary fix that will balance out partisan political tactics from other places, other states, and this is an opportunity for voters really to show up and make their decision. And then, Belen, just another thing that I would like to mention is that given that Latinos are a majority in California, you can only imagine the impact that the Latino vote will make in this election that is happening in California, but has the potential to impact the whole nation. So this is going to be super important that all of you Californians that qualify to be to register to vote and to vote in this election on November 4th, that you take the opportunity to do it now, to register. You have until October 20th to register to vote. And if you do miss that deadline to be able to receive your ballot in the mail, California has same-day voter registration, which means after October 20th, you can go into your elections office, register to vote, and vote with the provisional ballot, which is, really an advantage and an opportunity that not a lot of states have. And that we don't encourage folks to wait to the last minute, as you mentioned. But if you do miss that deadline, you still have that opportunity in California.
Awesome. And just to clarify again, you're saying this is a statewide election, so anyone in the state of California who's eligible to vote can participate in this decision.
That is correct. So as long as you are a U.S. citizen and you're at least 18 by the day of the election, you can vote in the upcoming election. And this is a special election, like I mentioned, where Proposition 50 really has the opportunity to make sure that we have that diverse representation we need in Congress, and that the maps that are being redrawn reflect the community that lives in there. As you know, Latinos are often the most impacted, like we mentioned earlier, about a lot of issues, including our broken immigration system. And we have the opportunity to send leaders that will have a direct impact on policies like immigration.
Awesome. And then just a final question on in regards to Prop 50. Let's say someone at home is tuning in from California, but they want to know a little bit more about Proposition 50. Where can we direct them? What resources are available to them so that they feel informed about this upcoming special election?
One of the beautiful things, Belen, about Poder Latinx is that we always do our best to keep our community informed. So I would encourage you to visit our website, poderlatinx.org, to get more information about not only Proposition 50, but also how to register to vote and how to check if your registration is active. Because those are the first things that you need to make sure that are in place to be able to participate in this upcoming election. But our California team, and I think not just California team, but everybody in Poder, go above and beyond to make sure our community is engaged. If you live in California, specifically in the Central Valley, our local team will be hosting cafecitos, community information sessions around what is Proposition 50. And this is more educational because we want people to vote, of course, that they make the decision that they want on this proposition, but it's an informed decision. I think it's important for us to know not only how this can impact California, but how this can impact the rest of the nation in 2026.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for all this important information on your special elections happening in California. Prop 50 is the special election happening in California, and then the Public Service Commission Utility Board election happening in Georgia. So make sure if you want more information, you start doing your research, go to poderlatinx.org/vote for any updated information or resources to know whether you're prepared to go and show up at the ballot. And truly, I also want to just make sure we highlight, right? Poder Latinx, we're focused in these states, but really we also do a lot of work in many other states and a lot of national efforts. So I was going to ask Giselle if you can share a bit more about what Poder Latinx is doing to empower and mobilize Latino communities ahead of these small local elections, but really also ahead of the midterms.
Of course, Belen, I think one of the main things that we do here at Poder is we want to be able to build that sustainable bloc of Latino voters. And we do this across our states by making sure that our Latino community not only takes that first step on registering to vote, and I know we have been saying this over and over throughout this panel, but I think it just highlights the importance of being registered. But we also want you to engage in your local elections. I know Washington is having city council elections. Texas is also having some local elections, along with the many other states that we're in and where we want our Latino community to engage. We want to make sure that they're taking that first step. So then in 2026, this almost becomes, like a habit where you can just know what to do, know where to go, and know that Poder Latinx has your back to make sure that you have all the information you need to make sure that you participate. Every election really does matter, whether it's anything from school board to city council to state races to federal races. And it takes for us to take that first step on registering to vote and becoming an active voter. We're also hosting educational workshops, cafecitos, community meetings across all of our states to ensure that community has the information they need. And then also, we've been running surveys to identify what are the issues that our community cares about, right? We know that Latinos are often put in silos, and I think that even within our Latino community, there's a lot of diversity. So, and not to mention that also depending on the state where they live, right? So we want to hear from you also. What are the things that you care about? I encourage you all not to only visit our website, but to engage in our social media pages, repost our content, leave us a comment, because our team will do everything and anything to make sure that not only you have the information, but that you also get the resources available in your state to make sure that you have that you're engaged and that you're being part of the civic process.
Thank you, Giselle, for sharing all that amazing information. Yes, Poder Latinx is all about empowering our community. That's something that's very beautiful to see. For myself on the national level, right, tuning in to our states and what they're doing, And I'm going to give a little bit of time to Leslie here so that she can share what's going on in the state of Georgia for any other upcoming mobilizations that you can tune in and be a part of. Because, civic engagement is all about being educated and informed as a voter, but also here are other ways that you can interact and get to know your community.
Thank you. For anyone who is interested to volunteer, we definitely have volunteer options to phone or text bank with us and also knock on some doors. So on the Poder Latinx website, there is an events landing page where you can find all the lovely events that we're having. Next week, we will also be at the Georgia State University campus for an ecofeminism event. And on October 15th, we're hosting a ballot walkthrough party at Shiloh High School, which will have a voting machine so you can experience firsthand and prepare to go out to vote. And lastly, our October 25th and 26th, our Poderosa Summit that we are bringing to the state. You can find more information on our website as well. It will be held at the Latin American Association. We will have great workshops, trainings, and panels. So we're so excited, and definitely register as soon as you can. Thank you.
Bueno, we are getting to the end of this amazing panel. As always, we really encourage everyone who is eligible to vote to use your voice, right? You have this amazing privilege to voice your grievances, to voice your opinions, to voice what you want to see in your country, in your state, in your small town, right? So always make sure that you are participating, make sure you are prepared. Thank you so much to all of those who have already become, loyal community members of the Poder Latinx family. We love to have you be volunteers. We love to see you at the events. And, Latinx Heritage Month does not end here. Poder Latinx is always, always, always celebrating the beautiful culture of our Latino communities. And make sure to tune in for other amazing events that we host in all the 7 states that we work in. But before we end, I want to make sure we get all the information straight. If you can, first, Giselle, what are the key dates we should be aware of for the special election in California? And then we'll go to Leslie so you can share those dates as well.
Of course, Belen, thank you. So if you live in California and you're already registered to vote, you have your ballots are already out. They were sent out earlier this month. So keep an eye out on your mail. Make sure that you send in your ballots. The dropping locations are also, they open in October 6th. So by this time, you already have that opportunity to send in your ballot. Early voting starts October 25th in California. So if you're ready to go vote in person, make sure that you show up to your polling location on as early as October 25th. And if for whatever reason you missed the deadline to register to vote, which is October 20th, which we still have a few more days, make sure that you get the opportunity to still register in person at your local elections office all the way up until election, but you still have time. So don't miss that October 20th deadline to make sure that you can still receive a ballot in the mail to participate in this special election. And then one last thing, Belen, that I would want to add, not necessarily just for California voters, because I know that this is across all of our states. Keep an eye out for the early voting, because we have a very unique opportunity in all of our states to vote earlier. I know for the states that have the mailing ballots like California, often we wait to the last minute, and that doesn't always guarantee that our ballot will arrive on time. So let's not procrastinate. Let's show up, vote early, and make sure that we're participating.
And for the state of Georgia, the voter registration deadline to vote in the 2025 elections was on October 6th. Double check your voter registration status is up to date. And you can do that by going to mvp.sos.ga.gov. And early voting begins October 14th to October 31st. So make your plan to go out and vote.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. thank you everyone that's watching and tuning in. Let's make sure that this Hispanic Heritage Month, we don't just celebrate our roots in terms of going and partying, right? That's always fun. I love the joy in our culture and our community, but let's make sure that we then take all of this and invest in our future by showing up to vote, by being involved in local nonprofit organizations or grassroots efforts, right? Like, let's make sure that we come and unify together as a community to build the next chapter of this country, one of innovation, one of a fair, free democracies, and one where we can really begin to protect one another when it comes to environmental issues, immigration issues, and economic issues. Because the Latino vote is a major deciding factor in the democracy, and we should keep taking advantage of that. Let's keep showing up to the polls. And if you are unsure of how to be more civically engaged, make sure to follow us at poderlatinx.org. On our website, you can keep up to date with our blogs, our events, and as always, check out our social media. We have such amazing content from our team, saying that personally as a communication specialist, right? But yeah, make sure to keep in touch with all of us. And happy Hispanic Heritage Month to everyone. Adios.